Ladies and gentlemen, today I have 1 hour to turn a bunch of images into something cool. I asked Jeff, also known as 7th Voyage, to find me some images, and these are the ones he found. Let's have a look. First of all, there is these, which I'm probably gonna use for the main landscape. We have 2 little kids that I decided to be the main subject of the final edit. And then there's a bunch of other random objects that we can use to fill up the rest of the composition. How exactly all this is gonna go? I guess let's open up Photoshop and find out. I decided to start with the background, pretty obvious of course. And for this I used a forest shot and the cornfield shot. I masked out the parts I was going to use with quick selection, and with a soft brush I faded out the edge to get a clean transition. For the corn I used a refine edge tool, which miraculously worked pretty well. I did correct it manually at some spots though. I put the sky in there as well, and shortly after the image of the moon. I set that on screen and then made the sky a whole lot darker and more bluish. Using exposure and blend if, I brought back some of the bright light in the clouds, because the moonlight was going to be my main light source, I decided. With some smoke brushes, I erased parts of the moon to make it look like it's behind the clouds. And using a solid color, I added glow to make it pop a bit more. To match the foreground images, I used hue and saturation for a quick night blue effect. Weirdly enough, this didn't even look bad. I applied some shadows on both foreground photos, mostly close to the cornfield, as most of the light there is blocked. I kinda speed ran the stuff so far because I didn't really have a clear perception of how much time I had for everything, so I thought better safe than sorry. Then the first kid. Using the object selection tool, can you believe it, I masked her out. And it looked fine. Not perfect, but I couldn't complain about how fast this actually was. Same thing for the second child. I then determined the right position for them and erased parts of their feet to put them on top of the leafy surface. I added the same blue effect on the kids and moved on to some simple shadows. This is when I realized this was gonna be harder than I thought. At first glance, the images look like they go together pretty well, but if you only have 1 hour, it will get pretty tricky pretty fast. I also corrected some of the highlights, but that didn't change much, to be fair. The lighting on the cornfield was also a pretty big problem, as I can't manually paint everything everywhere. That would take an insane amount of time. I tried blend if, which sort of had the correct effect, but you could just tell something looked a bit off. I didn't want to waste too much time on it though, so at some point I just kinda left it there. Now it was time for the next image, the pumpkin. And again, I used object selection. If you have little time, it actually works fantastically. I masked away the bottom and added blur to match the composition. I got rid of the green color in the highlight and made the whole thing a bit darker and bluish, using, of course, the exact same hue and saturation layer. To match the lighting, I of course added some highlights to it and some shadows below. And the story for the second pumpkin is pretty much exactly the same, so there's not much to comment on that. Cutting out the wheelbarrow was a huge pain though, because object selection just did not do it well. I managed though and put it on the right in the back. I tried fixing the lighting and colors with the same sort of stuff I did before, but since it's so close to the cornfield, most of the lighting is blocked, which resulted in kind of an awkward result. The baby heads I also masked out and literally just dropped on the ground. I thought it'd be super fun if this girl was just kind of reaching for the head, just laying there. Seems nice and dark. The other one I just put down there because what else am I gonna do with it? idea to put that woman inside the cornfield was super dumb, because how am I ever gonna do that within an hour? After masking her out, I kinda panicked, because how was I ever gonna do this? I ended up kind of just masking stuff away, hoping it would turn out okay. And to be fair, it could have been much worse, it's just not really that convincing. I added some very quick lighting and moved on because I only had about 20 minutes left. The bats in the sky were easy, of course, just making them a bit darker and adding a bluish tone and a highlight. Literally the single one thing I wasn't stressing about. I copied it a few times and put it in the distance as well, because that looked cool, I suppose. And the coffin, I just kind of hid in the background because I had no idea what to even do with that, and you can already guess how I did it. Then those hands. I know I wanted to put them between the corn thingies, but this of course was an idea as stupid as putting the woman in there. This looked terrible. But if you don't directly look at them, you don't really notice it, luckily. It really hit me at this point that I had chosen something far too ambitious for only 1 hour, and that really showed here. At this point, I tried adding overlay effects like a soft vignette and some extra lighting. I also attempted some mist effects by using my brushes, and I guess this worked. It ended up being quite subtle, but I just kind of went with it, because what else am I gonna do to, you know, save this edit? The last 4.5 minutes I spent doing a camera raw filter to make it look a lot more vibrant. I don't know if it's necessarily better, but it does pop a bit more. Most of all, the tone is way more intense and cool. Then after some small corrections, I decided to put an end to it, because I had mere seconds left.
What's going on, guys? Benny reached out to me and asked me to pick out some photos for a 1-hour challenge. And obviously, since it's October, I picked out some creepy ones for him. Dude, it always blows my mind what you can do in an hour in Photoshop. It's creepy, it's dark, and it kind of tells a story. You have these two young girls who have apparently the worst parents in the world and are just out in a field at night, picking up doll heads and stuff. And you have this entity behind them kind of watching them in the field. Kind of reminds me of like some urban legend stuff or old folklore. Really well done, man. Of course, I'd love to see what you could do without the hour time limit. So give the people what they want, man. Let's see that one. Anyways, thanks for asking me to pick out the photos. Always awesome working with you, man. And let's do another edit race.
Looking back at this challenge, I myself personally don't consider it to be successful. Sure, we have a final image with an overall tone that's pretty nice, but it's just nowhere near the quality I was expecting. I had hoped for something a bit more premium looking, but that's okay, because every now and then we should be allowed to mess up. Because for me personally, that's where I learn the most. If you like this video, make very sure to leave a like, subscribe, hit that bell so you don't miss a single future upload, and then I hope I'll see you in my next video.